I've been involved in conservation for 30 years and there's always a challenge in conservation. There's never any really happy stories. But the rhino poaching epidemic, which began in about 2008, it started taking off countrywide, South Africa as a country. And it's just gone exponentially bad for rhinos to the point where that we are realistically looking at them becoming extinct in the near future, which is maybe a decade away, if less than a decade. And Pilanesberg itself has not been spared the atrocities of rhino poaching. We've lost over 60, 70, almost 70 rhinos now that we know of to poaching in the last 10 years. And by no means is that going to diminish, and it's probably going to escalate with armed gangs coming in for a market that's primarily going straight to the Asian countries. So the protection of rhinos has now become, the number one priority for the park. As in any place with a rhino, the biggest concern is anti-poaching, and a lot of the budget and a lot of the effort goes into that. So it's not just about a guy in the bush with a gun. It's really a multifaceted thing. It's developed now to even the collection of DNA, which is the notching and the monitoring of rhinos. Also, injured and wounded animals become a priority. Orphaned calves. There's a lot of effort on a lot of fronts to try and slow down. I doubt that we're going to be able to stop it, but at least manage it in a much better way, that we don't have so many losses.
Now, anti-poaching patrols, you have to be out there then the whole night, especially when it's full moon. Right? Just because the sight of the poacher will be better, it will be easier for him to pick up anything in the bush itself. Especially with the canine unit, it's a few things that come together. It's fitness, and then also detection with the dogs, the rhino horn, weapons, that kind of thing. And tracking in the morning as well, taking spoor of human as they go through the bush. Then basically go out into patrol in the park, do fence lines, do wilderness tracks, looking for track of human, holes in the fences, and if you do get them, it's another kettle of fish. You're going to be out there until tonight. Alright guys, this, Kajima, this means run, and that's what the poachers are going to do when we're behind them. They're going to have to run.
Today's experience is about marking an animal, individual identification. So over the years of its life, we're going to get all kinds of biological data, where it moves, who it associates with. If it's a female, then you can get breeding data, how the intercalving period, and when it becomes post-reproductive, things like that. All the things that you would want to know as a biologist in population management, particularly if they become far more endangered. Endangered species protection is to get them to breed as best and as quick as possible. So by knowing your population intimately and those sort of things, you can manipulate and manage much better. At the same time of doing this, we're also collecting DNA, which was a major breakthrough from the forensic science of rhino poaching, in that we can extract DNA from the horn. So should this animal be poached and the horns can be retrieved, we can link it directly through a court case to this park and to this individual animal.
In the beginning of the century, we sat with over 1 million rhinos. We're down to 18,000, somewhere in those numbers. So we on 10 years, we're gone, it's finished. So what you see today, in your lifetime, they will be extinct if we don't do anything about it. So think about it that way. So I hope each one of you guys have the opportunity to go back and to go on Facebook and Instagram and just tell what you've seen. There's no medicine value in the horn. It's hair and nail. It shouldn't be a status symbol. There's no aphrodisiac in it. It's just a piece of horn. And that's what we need to get around in the world and get educated and get the people to know and realize, protect this.
We mark the rhinos individually. So we're going to catch an unmarked rhino and do that marking process. Okay? There's a few safety rules that we need to go through. One of them is just listen to what we say to you. Particularly, we don't know where the rhino is going to go to sleep. It might be in the road, which is fantastic. It might be that we have to walk some distance. Okay? The operation of catching a rhino would sound rather complicated and involved, but actually, because we do it quite often, actually it's almost like baking a cake now. It's just a recipe. But basically, a helicopter with the vet will fly around to find a suitable individual, and a suitable individual is an unmarked, unnotched rhino. vet will then administer the correct amount of the correct dosage of drug, immobilize the animal, but you can't overdose, you don't want to underdose obviously. And once the animal is down, secure and safe and breathing properly, and basically we're just cutting the shape of the predetermined pattern. So we know what we're going to cut out very quickly. So then we stop the bleeding as quick as possible as well, if there is any bleeding. And then we microchip the horns and the hump so that we can identify should there be a natural death, and if this animal is found, it's been eaten by lions or whatever, we can still get information about which individual actually died. So it's time for the wake up, and so we literally can be done within less than 10 minutes once the animal is securely immobilized. Today's operation was a typical example of where we're trying to include general public to become more empathetic and sympathetic with the cause. Today was perfect in the fact that we've got the Hong Kong students there, all studying conservation and environmental sciences, to be that, hopefully, that catalyst, that vector for change, particularly in the Asian side of the world, because the market is there, and for us to be isolated from that, we're not going to win. When you actually physically encounter a rhino on the ground like that and become part of what we're trying to achieve, it changes everything in terms of your own personal motivation to try and stop this absolute atrocity to a really iconic international mammal that we can't see in our lifetime disappear. We should not let that happen.
In terms of the Hong Kong University student group that was out here and what they experienced, the hands-on, it's impossible to give that to everybody, but it's obviously we appreciate it that they were here, they got to experience this, they got to take the message with them. That is very important, to have these students come out from Hong Kong, from Asia, from the countries that we see as a threat to us, to see what we're dealing with, how we're having to cope with these things, the stress that we're under, besides us, the animals are under, and them to take this back with them. I think that's incredibly important. I think that you also speak to your peers. If you come across as a Chinese national or a Vietnamese and you speak to people of your same culture, there's more to be understood in that message than me coming there as a Caucasian possibly and saying the same thing. Like-minded people will understand each other a lot better. So it was fantastic to have that Hong Kong group up here from the university experiencing this hands-on rhino notching with us.